Hi there, for those who are watching. If you are reading this title, you're probably wondering, well, or maybe not. I'm not meant to be a good or even a famous YouTuber because this is the angry anime and the despair reviewer or the semi-retire reviewer. I don't review as much manga chapters as I do anymore because, well, I just don't have the power. And all those hateful comments of people that just do not appreciate that some people have an opinion that are perfectly different will always just go on with the hate and all that stuff. What I want and do not get, I complain about. You have to realize that there are some things in life that cannot be pleased by others, okay? It doesn't mean anything that the manga itself can be bad. You cannot please everyone. But we're talking about a different series in that position. Now, I don't review One Piece as much as I used to. Do I still read it? Well, of course I do. Am I pleased on what is happening? Absolutely not. But that doesn't mean that the chapters are bad. It's more of the fact that I just want to see the good guys win! That's all there is to it. Yes, it's a very childish and just a very stupid thing. I am not saying I am upright. I look through things in a different angle than other people. In a way that doesn't make sense because that's how I roll. But this chapter in itself needs to be discussed just a little bit. After all, there are way many better reviewers who have already talked about this, but this chapter is still legendary. The legendary hour of the man known as Kosuke Oden, and he was born to boil. If you have read other chapters, this chapter details on how after Oden was captured, Oden was boiled, his innocence proven, why he was dancing around half naked, and now the very moment his death. From the moment we heard of Oden, we knew he was going to die. We know that Orochi and Kaido killed him, but we did not know, of course, how he died. And the story of how he died is a lot different than I think. Granted, Orochi is a scum. In fact, there's one thing that people really have to pay attention to. And I'm actually getting sick over the fact that no one is pointing this out. Only one reviewer pointed this out. What was and the thing and who was that? Well, I actually forgot who that was. Maybe it was BD Law. And that is one thing. Orochi. Okay, people are saying he's either a flat villain. People are saying he's an annoying villain. And people are saying he's scum. And I'm saying, that's the point! Don't you realize that? I have read so many different works of villains that are created to be hated. It's a rhyme. Created to be hated. Yes, I know a villain like that is not so likable. And yes, I know a villain like that is not so enjoyable to read. Case in point, Eden Zero, Spider, Demon Slayer, Musan, and, well, what else do we have there? Bleach, Aizen? Oh, whatever. It's the fact that there are some villains out there who you are not meant to like. It's villains, for God's sake. They are evil. They are not meant to be liked. And Orochi is a character that is created just like that. From the moment Oda showed him, we immediately saw that he was scum. And he was even foreshadowed even before he was shown. Orochi was scum, a hedonist, everything else. And then we saw the paranoid actions, the fact that he was going to kill Tokyo about that. Yes, we saw what kind of character Orochi was. Orochi is scum, and he must die like scum. If Oda do not kill him, I'm gonna be extremely upset. Yes, I know the fact that there is some things in life that are worse than death. After all, villains do not necessarily die in One Piece. Well, some do, like Absalom, but that was off screen. And Absalom himself wasn't a very likable character. But my point is, Oda hasn't really shown us seeing a villain die per se. We see more heroes because heroes are more related to. Oda knows that heroes are meant to be liked, not villains. And some villains surviving is a little bit more of a fate worse than death. Case in point, Don Flamingo and all that stuff. But the thing is, Orochi here is created in a scenario where he is so unforgivable that you are not meant to like him. You're not meant to sympathize with him. Yes, his story is a little bit tragic, but his actions are arguably even worse. In the end, this is not someone who wants to take revenge for what they wronged him. No, this is just someone who feels like he deserves to take revenge on everything that wronged him and do more, even worse thing than other people happened. The Wano people are also to blame for the fact that they're so idealistic in their thinking. But the Kurosumi people were a clan of evil. They could have done anything to make themselves better people. Case in point, the old hag and the old man. But no, they didn't. So Orochi is created to be hated. Though I don't say that because I said it, but it clicks off the tongue. So don't like him. For God's sake, do not like him and do not complain that he is a bad villain. He is a bad villain because he is evil. He is pure evil. But finally, back to the chapter. Oden does survive the 1 hour, but of course Orochi goes back on his word because after all he is scum. And here we see the picture of what everything says. Remember long ago in Seoul, Kanjiro said we who were supposed to be Oden-sama's shields by some twisted miracle was protected by him. Now we know what that meant. That meant is the fact that he held up the scabbards in that moment for 1 hour. And when and Oden knew that Kaido and Orochi were going to go back in the deal. He wasn't naive or anything. Yes, you can argue that him dancing naked was a little bit naive, but I think in the end he just did that because he felt a little bit sorry of the Kurosumi curse. And that was just simply, Oden was a man of honor. And he failed just to see just how unhonorable Kaido and Orochi really was. So this was the moment Kanjuro talked about. He protected them. He withstood the heat. He withstood the boiling oil. And he begged them to carry on his dream. When he threw the thing, all the retainers ran away with tears in their eyes as they remembered the moment they first saw him. And this once again creates a scenario which I do not like. And that is, there's a popular theory, and even Kaido himself had proven, that there is a spy in Oden's circle. But the thing is, we do not know who that is yet. And that is what is very worrisome to a lot of people. Because if a scabbard is a traitor, that will really create an emotional impact now. And I hate that scenario. I still haven't forgiven Oda for what he did to Pudding's character. It's the scenario like that. You think you know a character, and then everything changes with just one chapter. That's usually how Oda rolls, and it's brilliant, but it's also very unlikable in a way. It's the fact that all the scabbards are crying, but there are some who pointed out that Raisu's comment in the scenario, even complaining about the heat when he wasn't standing the oil, sounds surprisingly complaining for someone who is so loyal. Which begs the question, if Raisu were the traitor, then that would mean that the Soul people protected someone without even realizing he was the cause of it all. That would be a very great emotional thing. But is no one even going to snowball and throw out the theory that maybe there is a spy without even knowing it? Yes, I know that is lazy writing, but come on! Oda has thrown in amnesia so many times that people have no right to complain about that. And I mean that in Sabo's scenario, not the Big On scenario. That was bad. So if there is just some way that the spy is someone who's a spy without even knowing that he's a spy, that would actually work even better, in my opinion. Granted, how would that happen? I don't know. Maybe Orochi's devil fruit has some kind of hypnotic venom. I'm just saying he had a mythical fruit. And I will prefer if Orochi is completely and utterly weak. But I don't think the devil fruit he has eaten is weak, but I think he himself is. So we'll see. As the scabbards flee from everything else, Kaido decides to land the finishing blow. It was not Orochi who did that. If Orochi had done that, I would have raged. Because he could have just said, oh, I took down Oden. It would just further fuel just how scummy Orochi is. But the thing is here, I'm actually a bit worried on how Oda is portraying him. Yes, I said all that stuff about him being scummy and many stuff more. And Orochi must die, as I said before. However, there's one thing I have to wonder. How will Orochi die? Orochi is portrayed as complete scum and a complete coward. So the thing is, how would a guy like that die? And if you ask me, here is a dream scenario, which I hope he will die. And that is, he is mortally wounded. I mean, all his bodyguards are defeated or killed, maybe even Fukushira. And maybe he even kills Fukushira himself because, well, Fukushira gets defeated by someone and then he says, you failed me. But in the end, Orochi will have a fatal wound, but he will not die from that immediately. Maybe someone, the Scabbards, or maybe even Momo, if he ever grows up with the power of the time fruit, whatever, will say, you're not worth killing. And then they will just leave him there. Leave him to bleed out. Yes, a lot of people may complain about that because they want Orochi to just be cut down. But if you think about it, the best way to let a scum like that die is to suffer. Orochi is a weeping coward. So how would a weeping coward die? Well, in a puddle of his own blood, unable to move, and just scream, help me! Help me! That will cement him as the lowest of the low. A man who took everything, a man that bullied and oppressed people forever will die screaming for help, and no help will come, just to show how further his depravity had taken him. That will perfectly show just how much his depravity took him. It will show that Orochi is a man that is not worth helping. It will show just how little people care about him. It will be the perfect way to kill Orochi. Let him have a fatal wound and then just bleed out alone. Yes, people may argue that that's a little bit of a last tragic villain, but it's also pretty satisfying because in the end, that's how he will die. Also, there's two other points here to have to point out that a lot of people actually didn't point out. Granted, it was very easily missed. Fukushira, the traitorous ninja. Here he really shows the traitorous side. It's not exactly known yet completely why he decided to side with Orochi, but it seems to imply that he grew tired of Oden's nakedness and decided, well, he was not worthy serving. But this also seems to indicate that he's loyal to Orochi to a fault, really. He does not complain a single bit about his evil scum. This seems to imply that Fukushira do not care about it all. But it also seems to imply that he's a ninja first and a human being second. And what I mean by that is what matters is loyalty, nothing else. Of course, that doesn't explain why he would betray the Kosuki clan, but it's so very difficult to put it in words. But it shows the lack of empathy of this man, of a man that is loyal to scum, because maybe he is scum himself, but also because he is a ninja. There's a very good movie about that, 13 Assassins, a samurai protecting a scummy lord, because a samurai is a samurai, he says. It doesn't matter who the lord is. A samurai has a duty. And I think in the end that is Fukushira's things. His duty is to protect. Which is why I think Orochi will kill Fukushira. Just to further show how depraved Orochi is, but also to show Fuku, that in the end, you serve trash. So it's very fitting if you die just like trash. Granted, that may not happen. The second thing is, this was the start of Inuarashi and Nekomamushi's falling out. We don't know why exactly they had a falling out. Well, granted, we know it was because they argued about what happened to Oden. But here, I think he gave a very good imblink on why. Because when Oden was surviving the hour, Neko began to taunt Orochi and the Beast Pirates. And Ino is immediately saying, don't provoke him, you stupid cat. Says, why? He's winning. I think this was the catalyst which made their falling out. Because Ino would, when they escaped away from there, probably said to Neku, if you hadn't said to Orochi those things, Oden-sama would live. And maybe Neku says, huh? Oh, you blind? Neku, no, Orochi would have betrayed Oden-sama anyway. It's your fault that you said all those things. I think this was the catalyst. Neku's words and Ino's accusations here, that was the catalyst which started their falling out. And that gives their falling out a lot more weight. They blamed each other because Ino blamed Neku for being the reason Oden died, for provoking Orochi. And Neku would blame Ino for just accusing him of something when he wasn't even suffering from what Oden's happening. Something like that. Finally, Kaido kills Orochi. And this gives a very interesting point of view. A lot of people are arguing about this. Is this honorable or is this not? Kaido is a monster. You have to realize that. A monster in both personality and everything else. Here even giving an offhand comment that he killed Higurashi, the old hag. But there's a lot of people that have said pretty good points. And that point is, I think Kaido is trying to establish himself like, oh, I only won the fight against you because of the old hag, so I had her killed because I didn't want her interfering. So I think Kaido in this scenario is trying to say, I had the old hag killed because she had no honor. And maybe he feels like he wants to kill Oden in this scenario, not because he fears him, but because he respects him. Yeah, but again, this is not out of real honor. This is just because he feels it is honorable, but it's not. And this translation and different translations are different things about the scenario. But I would presume that what Oden is saying in this scenario is not that you can get as strong as you want, but he's taunting him, saying, oh, how considerate of you, saying like, oh, your words mean nothing to me. And then when he says, get as strong as you while you can, meaning that he believes that there will be someone who eventually will kill him. And that someone will be the worst generation. Finally, Oden dies with the words, I am Oden, and I was born, and the people finishes the sentence, to boil. A very emotional moment. But it's worth noting as he falls into the boiling liquid, we see a smile on Oden's face. Because in the end, you have to see it like this. Orochi tried to torture Oden, tried to kill him, and do many, many things more. But in the end, he never could truly break Oden. Oden was defiant to the very end. Not only saved the scabbard by holding the deal, he knew that Kaido and Orochi would go to the deal. Even as he was holding, even as it was on gunpoint, he still taunted Kaido a little bit. And her final words was just a pun on his name. Something like he always did when he always did make Oden soup and stuff like that. He went out like a true man. And this makes Yasue's words to Orochi all the more weightful. Because it really shows, as he says, a man of such small caliber should never truly devour Oden. Because in the end, if you think about it, Orochi never did. He may say that, I killed Oden, I won. But if you see this flashback, then you realize, no, he didn't win. Yes, Oden died, but he never broke him. In fact, Orochi was panicking on just how much Oden was surviving the oil, just to further show how much of a coward Orochi was. But it also shows that in the end, a man of such small caliber as Orochi could never truly devour the man that is Oden. Because even on his deathbed, even when he was going to die, and even as he was held on gunpoint, he was still being Oden. And that is admirable. It's a sad way of dying. But he died as a true man. Finally, we see into the flashback and answers the final questions on why did Hiyori send them to 20 years. Apparently, it was Oden who left the letter. It's worth noting, though, that she doesn't read the full letter. But and it's also revealing that the reason why she has been so silent in the emotion is because she doesn't want to show weakness to everyone else. A lot of people are complaining that Toki in these scenarios are very useless. And I'm saying that's the point. Don't you get it? or Oda is not revealing anything about her because it's not worthy of being revealing. And I'm not saying that because Toki is a bad character. I'm saying that because Oda refuses to reveal. She comes from 800 years ago. He doesn't want to reveal that story yet. I think Toki will come back in a different flashback because Oden did say that the country is waiting for a man, possibly saying Joy Boy. But the way these words are going around, it's not clear if he means someone who will have Joy Boy's will or if he literally means Joy Boy himself. Think about it. Toki had the time fruit. Maybe she had transported Joy Boy 800 years ago. Yes, I know that doesn't make sense, but I think Toki will still be relevant even after her death because she has just that many mysteries about her. And if she is not relative, then I will complain to Oda that what a waste of her character. But I wouldn't be surprised because Oda has wasted a lot of characters. And that's the thing about his writing. He is keeping some things together. There are still some unanswered questions left. For example, this begs the question of a little bit more that all that this why Oda did that and that. It was probably because, well, also it's worth noting that Oden gave the swords to Toki. I'm pretty surprised he had the swords in that thing, but I guess he didn't escape because, well, he lost, so he felt like it was honorable to stay behind. So that's how the swords got there. And she knew about the prophecy because Oden told her. He learned that by listening to the Sea Kings and reading the message that was left on Laugh-Tale. So that is why she sent them 20 years to the future. Still, there are some unanswered questions. For example, what happened to her? Did she really die in this scenario? What did she experience 800 years ago that made her jump? Why did she? What has been her motives? And then going away from her, who is the traitor? How is that traitor still alive if it's not a scabbard? And what happened to everything else? But the story seems to imply that this is the final chapter of the flashback. So many unanswered questions. But that's just how Oda rolls. Granted, maybe if this is not the final flashback chapter, I think at least next week will be. Because if I think about it, after next week's chapter, won't Oda go on a 1 week break? So, yeah, I'm just saying. I think he would have gone on a break once this flashback was over. But if this flashback is just half that and going back to the present, I don't know. But I'm ready to go back to the present. Only because I want Kaido to die! And I want Orochi to die. I want Big Mom to die. I want Big Mom to die badly. I want her to die, bleeding out on the ground as she screams and cries for her mama. As she says, I did nothing wrong. But maybe I should do a video about that, explaining how I want every villains to die. But I don't think I have the time for that, because again, I'm a semi-retired reviewer. I don't do as much videos as I want to. But that's my discussion about this. Yes, Toki could have become a lot more useful, but that's not how Oda writes characters. She's still an enigma, and that's the problem. She can be an enigma and be a lot more useful in the story in the future, but I don't think Oda will write her like that, because that's not how he does things. But if we are going back to the present, that's all good. Because now we have seen the man that is Oden, the legend. And he was a very wonderful written character. Now, there is the war. And the war is going to be just as long as this flashback, goddammit. But at least let us enter it. Let us see hope. And finally, fight these scum. Give me your thoughts if you have any.